Okay, so let's be real. Does your semester sometimes feel less like a plan and more like a total mess of deadlines, assignments, and just chaos? Well, if that's you, you're in exactly the right place. Today, we're going to hand you the blueprint to stop being a bystander and start being the architect of your own success. Let's get building. I mean, this is the classic student question, right? That feeling of just drowning. Drowning in assignments, lectures, life, and always wishing you had a 25th hour in the day. We've all been there. But what if I told you the problem isn't the clock? What if it's actually about how we're using it?
So here's a number that changes everything, 168. That's it. That's how many hours are in a week. And you know what? Every single one of us, you, me, your professor, everyone, gets the exact same 168 hours. No more, no less. So this completely reframes the problem, doesn't it? It's not a time scarcity issue, it's a time management challenge. And that's something we can totally solve.
All right, so here's our blueprint for today. We're going to cover the time scarcity illusion, how to design your destination, why you need to prioritize ruthlessly, how to architect your schedule, and finally, how to execute with finesse.
Okay, first up, the time scarcity illusion, or as I like to think of it, laying the foundation. You see, before you can build anything great, you gotta have a solid base. And for us, that means figuring out where our time is actually going right now.
It's a simple rule, but it's so true. You can't manage what you don't measure. So, the very first step before anything else is a time audit. And I mean an honest one. You have to get a clear picture of where every single one of those 168 hours is going. Track it all. Sleep, classes, your commute, and yeah, even the time you spend scrolling on your phone. We need to know our starting point, warts and all.
All right, foundations poured. Next up, section 2, design your destination, or creating the blueprint. I mean, think about it. You'd never build a house without a detailed plan, right? So why would you try to build a successful semester without one? It's all about starting with the end in mind. So this is where a really cool concept called backward design comes in. Instead of just jumping in and asking, what do I need to study today? You literally start at the finish line and work backward. Step 1, identify your desired results. What grade do you want? What skills do you absolutely need to walk away with? Step 2, determine the evidence. How are you going to prove you got there? Well, that's your exams, your papers, your big projects. And then, and only then, step 3, you plan the actual learning experiences, the studying, the reading, the practice that will get you to that goal. And to make sure those desired results aren't just wishful thinking, we use a tool called SMART Goals. It's an acronym, and it's awesome. It stops you from saying something vague like, I want to do better in history. Instead, you get super specific. I will get an A on the final exam in History 101 by studying 5 hours a week and completing all my reading notes. See the difference? It turns a fuzzy wish into a concrete, actionable target.
Okay, we've got our blueprint. Now it's time for section 3, prioritize ruthlessly. This is about building the main framework of our structure. And honestly, this is where it gets tough. This is about making hard choices about what gets your time and what just doesn't.
And one of the best tools for this is the Eisenhower Matrix. It's brilliant. It makes you sort every single task on your list into 4 boxes, based on 2 simple questions. Is it urgent and is it important? If it's both urgent and important, you do it now. If it's important but not urgent, you schedule it. And by the way, that's the magic quadrant where real progress happens. If it's urgent but not really important, see if you can delegate it. And if it's neither, get rid of it. Seriously, just cross it off the list.
Now, the Matrix is great, but here's a more, let's call it a real-world take from a Reddit user that I absolutely love. They say to draw a boundary for every single thing you have to do. Think about it. Maybe a B+ on that one lab report is perfectly fine. So you put in the effort to hit that B+, and the second you do, you stop. You take that extra time and energy you would have spent chasing an A, and you put it towards something that actually has a bigger impact on your final grade. It's such a smart way to beat perfectionism.
Okay, time for section 4, architect your schedule. We've got our priorities straight, now we're going to turn them into the detailed plans for your week. This is where the big ideas become a real hour-by-hour schedule.
You know, when you actually lay out your week like this, it's pretty wild. 56 hours for sleep, 15 for class, it adds up so fast. But look at that bolded number, 30 hours for studying. Where does that come from? Well, it's the classic 2-for-1 rule. For every 1 hour you spend in a class, you should be spending 2 hours studying for it. When you add it all up, you see you're left with just about 10 hours of wiggle room. It really puts things into perspective, doesn't it? So here's how that sane student actually put this kind of scheduling into practice. They used what they called a 0-1 policy. For most of the semester, their extracurriculars were a 1, full focus. But about 2 weeks before exams, bam, the switch flips. Extracurriculars become a 0, and studying becomes a 1, total focus. The reason this works so well is that it cuts down on something called context switching. That's the mental drag you feel when you're constantly jumping between totally different types of tasks. This way, you get deep, focused work done when it matters most.
And that brings us to our final section, execute with finesse, aka the right tools for the job. You've got your blueprint, you've got your schedule. Now, let's talk about the actual work. It's time to fill your toolbox with some techniques that will make sure all that effort actually pays off.
First up, let's talk notes. So many of us just passively write down whatever the professor says. The Cornell method completely flips that. It turns note-taking into an active process. You've got your main notes, a column for key questions or cues, and a summary section at the bottom. What you're really doing is building a perfect study guide for yourself during the lecture. It makes reviewing later on 1,000 times easier.
And speaking of reviewing, it's all about studying smarter, not harder. A great example is spaced repetition. That's just a fancy way of saying you review stuff right before your brain is about to forget it. Now look at this chart. An older, classic algorithm for this gets you a success rate of less than 50%. But a modern one, it can push that all the way past 90%. That's almost double the effectiveness for the same amount of effort. The tools you choose really matter.
So what about your main planner? Paper or digital? Look, digital is super convenient, no doubt. But you can't ignore the science here. The actual physical act of writing things down with a pen on paper has been shown to improve your memory and focus. In fact, people who use paper planners have a significantly higher rate of actually completing their goals. There's just something about writing it down that creates a level of commitment that tapping on a screen sometimes can't match.
And as we start to wrap this all up, I want to leave you with this final thought, because it's so important. Please remember that nobody has it all figured out. Everyone around you is just figuring things out as they go too. This whole system we've talked about, it's a framework, it's not a prison. Life is messy. The goal isn't to be perfect, the goal is just to make progress.
So there you have it. You've got the blueprint. You know how to lay the foundation, design your destination, build the framework, and fill your toolbox. The plans are officially in your hands now. So the only real question left is, what are you going to build this semester?